Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So coming to you today, and the purpose for this video is to discuss this little guy. Redding Stuck Case Removal Kit. So I'm sitting here resizing some Starline 30-06 brass. Oh, and for my next, the next videos I'm gonna do on 30-06. So I'm actually looking at loading up some of those guys. The 180 grain SST, and then the 220 grain round nose interlock from Hornady. So just gonna that's a side note, but since 30-06 is the most versatile, put that in air quotes, cartridge, a lot of people typically say that. You know, then there's load data out there from like 110 grain VMAX all the way up to a 220 round nose. So that's what we're gonna be looking at. I've actually got some 110 VMAXs also that I'll probably load up as well, just to sort of show, you know, from lightest to heaviest. You know, this is basically if you're a hand loader and this is the only rifle cartridge that you own, then you should be able to get the job done no matter what you need to do, right? Now, when people throw it around, say it's the most versatile cartridge, I typically disagree with that, because that's pretty unrealistic to think that someone's only going to have one rifle chambered in one cartridge, right? Typically, that's not exactly how it works. I don't know pretty much anybody that goes coyote hunting with a 30-06 110 grain VMAX load. No, that doesn't happen. So I'm sure it does, but that's such a very small, minuscule percentage of the people that, you know, shoot and all that fun stuff, because otherwise you would just go buy a new gun. It's a good reason to go buy one. But this little guy, say you are trying to resize your brass, didn't use enough lube, and you got a stuck case like we have here. All right, and what you're going to want to do, this is probably one of the best setups that I've come across. I've used a couple of different ones. I've actually got, where was it at? Oh, and it's somewhere over here in my pile. I probably actually threw it away already. It was the Frankford Arsenal version, where they have like the little jaws that kind of clamp down onto the case, onto the head of the case, and then you try to extract it. You put it in your shell holder, and then you try to, that was worthless. Absolutely worthless. This style has probably been the best that I've come across. So I think RCBS has one that's virtually identical. Trying to do this one-handed, not very easy. This is a Lee die that I got this thing stuck in, and so the way, you'll see some people do it this way, where you'll actually loosen this piece up, take it out. Now, I did have to use an adjustable wrench and a what do you want to call this, a box end, just a regular standard wrench, right, on top of an adjustable, right, so that way I could hold the die in place, and then loosen this up, because I tightened this down so that way my decapping pin doesn't go anywhere during the resizing process. Now, you'll see some people, all right, you want to take this off, and some folks will take a hammer and just beat the snot out of their decapping pin, right? You can't pull this out, right, because it's wedged down in there. I'm sure you could if you used enough force, but that expander ball, you know, the mouth of the case is stuck on that as well. That's why you can't get that out, right? The whole piece of brass is stuck in the case, but then on top of that, trying to pull this out, and then you have that expander ball not being able to come up freely. So, you know, some people, they'll take a hammer, beat that down, and try to punch that piece of brass out. Now, you can do that, I guess. I'm just not really a fan of that. If you have to beat on your equipment with a hammer, it's not good. That's not a good day. Not something I want to do. So pretty much what you're going to do, and the reason you want to loosen that up is you want to try to pull this decapping pin as far down, right? Once you flip it upside down, you want that down as far as possible, because you're going to drill a little pilot hole in the brass, and you just don't want to be drilling into your decapping pin. So screw this guy in from underneath the press. All right, so now you've got it in upside down, just like this. All of our parts come flying out. The instructions, pretty straightforward. Remove the die with the stuck case from your reloading press, remove the decapping rod or back it out as far as possible. I've already mentioned that. Use the number 7 drill bit provided, drill through the primer pocket and flash hole. So what you're gonna essentially do, I'm not gonna be able to do this one-handed, so you guys are just gonna have to, I think I've actually shown this in another video, 450 Bushmaster. Go to that playlist and I'll show you exactly how to use, I believe it's the RCBS version of this guy. But pretty much you're just gonna take your standard drill, use the included bit, right? Use the drill bit that's included in the kit. Just chuck that up in your drill and drill. You want to line it up and drill as straight down as possible, right? And then from there, you're going to take your tap. All right. Once you drill that out with the drill bit, you'll remove that. Then you'll take your tap. You'll actually screw this down. That way you can apply threads to the inside of that piece of brass. You'll create some threads by using this. And then once you do that, that's where this little guy and this little guy come in handy. Once you do that and you have your threads, you'll set this down on the die like so. That creates a positive stop. That way when you start to tighten this, that pressure will help to basically free that piece of brass, right? You've got the threads engaged on the brass from the threads that you just created by using the tap. And then by tightening this down with the included Allen key, that will pull the brass up and you unstick the case and you don't damage your resizing die. That's the main thing, right? You just don't want to add insult to injury when you stick a case by doing something like I said earlier, where some people, they might just leave this in the die, remove this piece here, and then use a hammer, because these are very beefy decapping pins from Lee, and so they may take a hammer and just try to punch this thing out. That's fine if that's the approach you want to take. The less destructive method would be just getting a stuck case removal kit and going about it that way. Now, where do you buy one of these kits? I'm glad you asked. You go to Mr. Big Guns in Huntsville, Alabama. You go down there and you say, hey, Matt, I need to buy a stuck case removal kit because Alabama Reloader told me this is how you need to remove a stuck case. There you go. That's all you do. So head over to Mr. Big Guns, pick you one up on top of all the other reloading stuff that they got. Massive selection now. In terms of reloading stuff that you need, that you're looking for. Slowly getting in some more brass and bullets, and that bullet selection is definitely coming back around. They've got a lot more Hornady stuff than anything else. But powder as well, getting in shipments of powder regularly now, so that's pretty awesome. That's where you can go pick up one of these guys, or of course you can order it online. They also have an online store as well. So that is it. I'm not going to physically walk you through how to do this. I did that in another video. Go check it out in the 450 Bushmaster playlist. I try to break all of my videos out into their own categorized playlist, so that way, because if you're here to watch 30-06 content, then you probably, that's what you want to focus on. So I do my best to try to sort everything and switch it over to the appropriate playlist. Sometimes I don't necessarily remember to do that, and then I go back after the fact. So just go check out that video. It's in the 450 Bushmaster playlist, and that's it. I got to put the phone down because I've got to use 2 hands to get this sucker drilled, get everything set up and pulled out. That way I can finish resizing. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Y'all have a good one. All right, so I know I kind of ended the video on the previous section, but I felt like I could at least show you sort of what the end result looks like when you're going through this process. So where we left it off, I kind of talked you through, hey, you're supposed to drill a pilot hole down through your brass. And then from there, you tap the case, stick this little guy on top, put this screw in, tighten it down, continue to tighten it until the brass releases and is no longer stuck. So, but I just want to kind of show you what that looks like. Now, one thing, when you drill out the primer pocket and the flash hole and all that stuff, with the drill bit, you'll have a lot of brass shavings. So for me, I always just try to clean that up. I don't really like things getting down, you know, in the threads or anything like that. So just be very careful when you're doing that. Just know that that's going to happen. And so what I did, I drilled out fairly slowly. I didn't just kind of turn it loose and drill very quickly. I took my time, drilled probably a little bit slower than I really needed to, but that's perfectly fine to drill that out. And then from there, what I did was I simply blew off as many brass shavings as I could to get them off the press and the area where the die is screwed in. And then from there, I just unscrewed everything, took the die completely out, because there were still some brass shavings sort of in this moat, if you want to call it that, where the threads are up here and the die is not fully engaged. So there was a little bit of brass debris down there. Once I unscrewed this, took it out of the press, I'm able to clean all that out. And then from there, you know, clean out the threads, make sure everything's good. And then I put the die right back into the press. And then after that, grab my tap. Now what you don't want to do is chuck this up into a drill, stick this on here, and then tap it with a drill. You don't want to do that. You could run the risk of snapping this guy, okay? So, you know, really, you want to try to have it as perpendicular as possible to your brass, right? You want your threads to be as straight as possible in that piece of brass. Is it, I guess, mission critical if you're off slightly one way or the other? Probably not, but really what you're trying to do is thread this so that way you can just simply have the brass pull straight up, right? Once you put this little screw in there, you want the brass to just pull straight up. And so, you know, you do want to pay attention to how you're lining this up, the alignment of it. And all I did, you know, I don't have a T-handle for the tap, and so I just grabbed another adjustable wrench and I just started to tap by hand. And then once I met resistance, I grabbed my adjustable wrench, put it on the top, and I was very careful to make sure I maintained pretty good alignment with the tap, and then just took my time, you know, making small turns, and then back it out a little bit, and then continue to just work the tap. You don't want to force it too much, just let the tap do its job. So then from there, once I threaded the brass, once you do that, stick this little guy on there. And then with the supplied Allen key, well, I'm probably not gonna be able to get this on video. Here we go. All right, so I'm trying to brace myself against my wrench here, and then to keep it from the die turning. And then from there, you're going to tighten this bolt, and then you should feel it release as you're going through this process. You should actually get to a point where you feel that brass release and your case is unstuck. yeah. That felt a lot easier. And there you go. There you have it. So that is how you remove a stuck case. Now from here, you know, obviously you're going to want to get this screw off of here. And then after that, for me, I just grab, you know, I just grab a Dremel, chop off the end right down here, and then just let this decapping pin slide through. So that's typically how I do it. Just chop off this end and that joker will just slide right out. So that way you don't destroy your decapping pin and you don't mess up your die. So there's the die, no issues. I just need to loosen this thing up now. There we go. And we're back in business. So that's it. Just wanted to kind of mention sort of that last piece there. There's a couple of things you just have to be careful with, pay attention to. Definitely don't overwork your tap and snap it. Ask me how I know. So that's why I'm telling you guys. And that's it. So our Redding model number 22 stuck case removal kit. Worked like a champ. Did exactly what it was supposed to. Yeah, so it's actually the first time I've had to use this. I did have an RCBS and I snapped the tap, so that's why I can tell you that from experience. So experience is the best teacher. Now there's a certain level of wisdom that I have gained by doing that. So there you go. There's our messed up piece of Starline 30-06, which is frustrating, right? Because I was kind of segregating my brass. I just cleaned this stuff yesterday, and I've got 50 pieces here, and then I was going to set aside 20. I've got 70 total. I was going to set aside 20, or I've got 70 available to me right now. The rest is loaded. But I had these 20. I was going to set them aside for a project for a buddy of mine. I'm still waiting for him to bring his gun over, and then I'll begin to work up a load for him. I was going to give him 20 rounds of hunting ammo. Well, this is going to be part of that 20. So now I've got 19. So that plan, you know, and I don't want to sacrifice one here. Well, now I got 49, right? So it's like, yeah, so much for that. I might just order some new brass and be done with it for that. But all right, there you go. Y'all have a good one. We'll catch you next time. This is the actual end of the video now. So see you later.